studios of the Metro News Radio Network in Morgantown, this is West Virginia's premier sports talk show.
From Weirton to Welch, Martinsburg to Matewan, and all points in between, this is the Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Northside Automotive, Route 19 in Summersville. We'll beat the advertised price of any other dealer in the state, guaranteed. Now here's your host, Tony Caridi.
Hi, everybody. Good evening, and welcome on in. Friday night edition, Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline, 23rd day of October. Beautiful day, man. Wow. Nice, huh? Classic fall day. The leaves are changing. In some places, they have reached peak. In other places, they're quickly heading toward peak. So if you're going to see leaves this year, get out there this weekend. Because as I've been predicting on this program for a little bit now, winter is right around the corner. So you better see the leaves now and enjoy fall while you can.
I thought summer was almost here. Isn't it about that time now?
No, not at all.
I don't know why you do
that. Wait, excuse me, go ahead.
Welcome to the show. I don't know why you do that. You had to be Debbie Downer about summer coming. Now you're already starting this winter talk.
Well, when we leave the studio tonight, it's going to be pitch black outside. How's that do for you? But that's all right. It'll get a little bit better. Pretty soon, when we come in for the show, it'll be pitch black. That makes everyone feel better. Then the sky's going to turn all gray and cloudy. We won't see the sun again until April. You tell me.
Moving on.
That'll get everyone fired up.
Moving on.
Hunter's in the studio. He's the coach. Senator's in the studio. He's the senator. And just for a little bit here to start the show, Grumpy Garrett.
So it doesn't sound like I was the grumpy one there.
Grumpy Garrett Cullen joins us. High school, week number 9. I cannot believe it's week 9.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like
Amazing.
Yesterday we had the season openers, right? So week 9, now it's really getting to be rug-cutting time when it comes to which teams are in, which teams are out. We got a monster game tonight. I mean, a massive AAA game tonight. Number 4, GW against top-ranked Cabell Midland, or 1 against 2 in the Metro News Power Rankings. Who wins the game, Grumpy Garrett?
It's going to be a fun game to watch. We had a couple of surprises last week, and GW was one of those with their 32-21 win over Capital. Nunu Miller in that game had 264 yards on the ground, and they've got a really good rushing attack, a 2-quarterback system as well. And you look to Cabell Midland, and they're big up front, a physical offensive line, a couple of good backs back there, a whole stable really, but the two main pieces coming out of that, Devin Stapleton, Caverton Humphrey. So that one tonight's going to be a matchup up front who can gain control along the line of scrimmage. And you mentioned it's a huge game. I mean, Cabell Midland unbeaten at 7-0, number 1 in the SSAC rankings. George Washington at number 4 and 6-1. Their lone loss, Paul Blazer, Kentucky, and that's still an undefeated Paul Blazer team. Then GW lost by just 1. That was that night when we had all those delays and the lightning. So a chance for George Washington to jump up and get a 1 or 2, position themselves for a 1 or 2 seed in the postseason, and obviously Cabell Midland's right there and trying to maintain that. They still have a couple of difficult games left after this, but that's our Metro News Game of the Week in Class AAA. But you go all the way through AAA, and there are 6 games against ranked opponents. So the next one in the Eastern Panhandle, Jefferson and Martinsburg. Martinsburg still unbeaten in the state during the regular season. Now, Capital ended their in-state unbeaten record overall last year with that win in the playoffs, but Jefferson was the last team to beat Martinsburg in-state during the regular season. That goes all the way back to 2007. So those two teams facing off in the Eastern Panhandle. That's going to be just as big of a game there as that GW Cabell Midland game is down there in Huntington.
Did you ever find out why they call him Nunu? Did you have him on High School Sportsline? Did you ask what was that about?
He said he's always gone by Nunu, but his name is something else. So
Well,
that's
why
just what
Nunu?
they just raised him up that way.
I'm a fan of that, by the way.
Yeah, and I
love
apologize. I don't have a better answer. We can
That's
go
horrible
back,
because I
but-
thought you were going to ask him.
Well, we did, and he talked about it. But I mean, we interviewed 25 guys
Did you
on that
listen?
show.
Did you listen to the answer?
No, I
If
was
you asked him,
thinking about my next question.
Well, at least he's honest. He's in a bad mood, but he's honest.
Not in a
boy.
bad mood.
Can someone call and let us know how Nunu got his name? I'd like to know.
It's a great
Ask
name.
Fred. He's coming in. He asked the question.
Fred asked it?
Yeah, it was
you
2
think
weeks.
he would know?
2 weeks ago we had him on, Tony.
All right.
Garrett's moved on.
Yeah, I've moved on.
Grumpy Garrett and Frowning Fred. They'll be on High School Game Night tonight with dazzling Dave Jecklin.
There we go. Jacqueline's back in the mix.
Okay. Cabell Midland, GW.
Yeah, that's a good one in AAA.
If there were a line on that game, what would it be?
I would go Cabell Midland's at home, so give them 6.
Give them 6. All right, line's going off. Cabell Midland 6, +6. +6. Speaking of lines, coming up at 6:20 tonight, back for his second appearance on our program. He was outstanding last week. He was 4-1 last week. Todd Fuhrman. I can't stress to you enough how lucky we are to have him, right?
Right. You cannot overstate
I
how
can't
big
overstate
of a deal
that.
is.
Yeah, he's like big time. I mean, like big time. He's not like that guy. He's not, he's not like Slappy Sale, right? The bookie from down the corner. I mean, this guy, he ran a betting
Sportsbook.
Sportsbook. That's what 2 words I was looking for. In sportsbook, he ran a sportsbook in Vegas, one of the big sports books in Vegas.
He was the odds maker at Caesar's Palace.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of big.
That's
all
pretty
right.
good.
You heard of that?
I heard of it.
Have you heard of Caesar's Palace?
And he was on Fox last year.
Spent a lot of time on Fox last year. Yeah, every Friday night he was on laying lines. He's excellent.
Okay, so Todd Fuhrman's coming up at 6:20. Grumpy Garrett, thank you so much
All right, then.
for being with us. If someone on social media could tell us, just send it to Garrett there, why Nunu is called Nunu Miller. I'm not even going to get started on the nicknames. From Nunu to Nose. WVU basketball player Richard Romeo, broken nose, will require surgery.
Wow.
Happened in practice yesterday for Richard Romeo, so they have to fix that thing. Meanwhile, freshman Lamont West, dislocated rib. Not a crack, but it came out. That'd feel real good, wouldn't it? That gotta feel real good.
Nothing more painful than
A rib,
fractured
right?
rib.
That's what they say.
Absolutely.
I don't want to find out. Golden Blue debut comes up tomorrow night here in Morgantown at the Coliseum. 30-minute officiated scrimmage between the Gold and the Blue teams. Autograph session. They're going to raise the Sweet 16 banner. Hugs will talk, and you're invited. It's absolutely free of charge. Gates open at 6. Game starts at 7. And fans will all receive a 2015-16 men's basketball poster. And they'll do the autographs after they are complete. MLB Game 6 ALCS tonight. Blue Jays at Kansas City. Royals up 3-2. Jays have to win, or it will be Kansas City and the Mets in the World Series. That's probably not going to make a whole lot. Either way, if it's the Mets in Toronto or the Mets in Kansas City, that's not going to make a ton of needles move when it comes to ratings.
No, you'll
Right?
have to. Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, the New York market will obviously draw, but neither of the American League cities are going to be big.
Yeah. College football tonight. Number 18, Memphis at Tulsa. Utah State at San Diego State. 22nd rated Temple last night beats ECU. Came from behind, beat them 24-14. They're now 7-0. Up next for the Owls, Notre Dame. Notre Dame. Next week. How about
Pretty
that?
good.
How about that?
Great start for Temple.
I'll be a huge Temple fan next week. Owls beat the Irish, huh?
They're getting some nice pub. They go out and beat Notre Dame next week. Look out.
Yeah, you're right.
Matt Rule, the Temple coach, can name his price at that point.
You think?
You know, we've talked about them a little bit, but they had both Penn State and Notre Dame come to Philly.
Yeah, it's because they can get the alums.
Yeah, I understand, but still, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
how often a school like that get both those schools
No,
to
no
come to
question.
their place in the same year?
Absolutely right. Last night, UCLA bounced back from a couple straight losses, beat Cal 40-24. Josh Rosen, their quarterback, threw for almost 400, 390 something.
Pretty good for a true frosh.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A little bit later on in the program, after we do Todd Fuhrman in the next segment, we're going to ask you a question, and by all means, we encourage your response. So we're midway through the Mountaineer football season. We've played 6, 3 up, 3 down to this point with 6 to go. So after a half a dozen games, question for you is, what's your plus on this team and what's your minus on this team? What do you like? What don't you like? What's happened so far that's a plus? What's happened so far that's a minus? Might want to throw in what's been your biggest surprise. We could do that as well. We'll open up those phone lines a little bit later on. Stay with us when we come back. We'll hook up with Todd Fuhrman. His picks on the weekend. Last week he was 4-1 on the picks that he offered here on the show. So do stay with us. That's coming up. Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline.
To navigate any map, you need a legend like the capable Jeep Cherokee, Four-Wheeler Magazine's 2015 Four-Wheeler of the Year, and Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever, with best-in-class 30 mpg highway and 730-mile driving range. So you can push even farther into uncharted and unmapped territory. Get a great deal on the most awarded and legendary SUV lineup ever at the Jeep Celebration event. Right now, purchase and get 0% financing for 72 months or $3,500 total cash allowance on the 2015 Jeep Cherokee Limited. The Jeep SUV lineup has received more awards in its lifetime than any other competitive SUV lineup. EPA estimated 4x2 with available EcoDiesel V6 and 24.6-gallon fuel tank. 0% APR financing for 72 months equals $13.89 per month per $1,000 finance for well-qualified buyers regardless of down payment when financed through Chrysler Capital. Residency restrictions apply. Take retail delivery by 11/2. Jeep is a registered trademark of FCA US LLC.
As a cyclist, we make choices. We choose which motorcycle manufacturer to buy from. We choose what type of motorcycle we ride. We even choose where and when to ride. We also choose to ride straight, alcohol and drug-free. Alcohol is involved in 50% of motorcycle fatalities in West Virginia. That's 1 in 2 drivers who die each year. Don't become a statistic. Ride straight, alcohol and drug-free. Presented by the West Virginia Department of Transportation, Governor's Highway Safety and Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Program.
The Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes, on Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
To navigate any map, you need a legend. Celebrating the most awarded SUV lineup ever. Jeep Cherokee, 2015 Four-Wheeler of the Year. Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever. And introducing Jeep Renegade, the most capable small SUV ever. Now get an additional $500 bonus cash at the Jeep Celebration event. Get 0% financing for 72 months or $3,500 total cash allowance on the 2015 Jeep Cherokee Limited.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Gosh, cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
Welcome back, everybody. Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline. Tony Caridi along with the coach, Greg Hunter, and the senator, Brad Howe. Little West Virginia's own Brad Paisley right there coming back. Thanks so much for being with us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, he debuted on our program last week, and he was darn near perfect, baby. I mean, he was firing darts. Joining us on the program, Todd Fuhrman, lead gambling analyst at Sportsline.com, former oddsmaker at Caesars Palace. Good evening to you, Todd. Thanks so much for being with us.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me back this week.
Can you guarantee the same profile of efficiency that you debuted with last week every week?
If I can guarantee 80%, no offense to the loyal listeners in Morgantown, I wouldn't be sharing my plays with anybody, even my immediate family.
Okay, so the only one you missed on was Ole Miss Memphis. Give us the big perspective on that game. What did that do to sports books last weekend?
Yeah, it's a real interesting game because you had about 65% of the action coming in on the Rebels in that particular spot, and Memphis rose up to the occasion. It looked like they were going to be outclassed early in the football game, going down 2 scores, and it appeared that the Rebels thought the game was all but won at that current juncture, and it leads to a very interesting spot tonight when you look at Memphis and can they repeat some of that magic on a short week going on the road in conference to what could be a hostile environment in Tulsa.
All right, so let's jump right into that one. What does happen there? Give us the number, and what do you think happens?
I think you're talking about a team who goes from the highest of highs to potentially the lowest of lows in the matter of 6 days. It's real tough for a team like Memphis to duplicate some of that success, especially knowing their deficiencies on defense. And don't get me wrong, the Golden Hurricane aren't exactly a brick wall, 90th in defensive efficiency by my metrics. But I think when you go into on the road in conference into an environment like this where it's homecoming and Tulsa's got absolutely nothing to lose, Memphis may play a little bit tighter, and some of the plays they were making with reckless abandon a week ago against Ole Miss won't come so easily. I think there is a live dog. Won't go so far as to say we're going to see an outright upset, but I think 10.5 more than generous.
Okay.
Todd, in Big 12 play, there are 2 huge favorites in Baylor and also Oklahoma, both at plus 30 for their games. What are their odds that either of those – I'm sorry, Oklahoma State is the plus 30. What are the odds that either of those comes under that mark?
Yeah, Baylor a little more than a 5-touchdown favorite against Iowa State. The interesting part there with the Cyclones is you've seen some money come in on the under, a very similar situation as last week when Baylor took on West Virginia. Right now, I don't trust this Iowa State team as far as I can throw them. They played a great first quarter last week against TCU, but were shut out for the remaining 45 minutes and cost over bettors along with dog backers quite a bit of money. I think you ride this Baylor train against inferior opposition until they meet the heart of their schedule in early November. You'll have an opportunity to fade them. Oklahoma State, on the other hand, I think this is a little bit of a lofty price tag. Kansas showed a ton of fight a week ago against Texas Tech, and I think the Red Raiders a little bit more dynamic offensively. Of course, the Cowboys will pose a stiff test on the defensive side, but Oklahoma State doesn't see their unbeaten season coming to a stop this weekend. I just don't think that they should be laying 33.5 in conference.
Todd Fuhrman, lead gambling analyst at Sportsline.com, is our guest. Stay in the Big 12. You mentioned Texas Tech, who struggled with Kansas last week, taking on Oklahoma team that absolutely dismantled Kansas State. Where do you go on that one?
Yeah, I think Oklahoma still has some deficiencies. They were a byproduct of TCU doing a lot of the heavy lifting for them a week in advance. Kansas State clearly showed the ill effects of that hangover. You go through this Oklahoma team, and I'm still a little bit cautious in terms of what their upside looks like. However, I have to imagine Baker Mayfield has had this game circled on the schedule since his transfer request went through, and he knew he was going to be the starting quarterback for the Sooners. So by that token, I want to make a case for the dog here, but I'd rather sit it on the sidelines than try and tangle here.
Todd Fuhrman is our guest. Let's jump out of the Big 12 if we could. You had a piece this week that there's a lot of hate, like historic hate, on Utah here based upon their ranking and based upon the line in this game against USC. Explain what's up there.
Yeah, a lot of the general public thinks it's a free money giveaway taking place at the Coliseum with the number 3 team in the country catching over a field goal against a USC team searching for an identity without Steve Sarkisian on the sidelines. But you look at the way SC performed a week ago, and yes, they came up short on the point spread column and, of course, on the scoreboard. I think that they played a lot better than that final score indicates. Utah pretty fortunate to be undefeated. They had near misses, I should say, as far as point spread covers are concerned against Cal, but they were fortunate to get through Arizona State a week ago, and I think Utah flirting with a bit of disaster here. If the Trojans can step up and stop Devontae Booker, I think they saddle Utah with the first loss of the season, and I think USC can do it relatively comfortably.
Big game in the SEC, Alabama, which has been rolling people since that loss to Ole Miss, 15.5-point favorite against Tennessee. Vols have any chance of keeping that number low?
A historic rivalry between these two teams. Alabama playing their 8th game in 8 weeks. You have to wonder what they have left in the tank headed into a bye, knowing that their showdown against LSU looms in 2 weeks. Tennessee had a chance to heal up a bit, but from what I've been told out in Knoxville, they're still far from 100%. And the real X factor, what are we going to see out of Joshua Dobbs? Will he be able to stretch the field like he did in comeback mode against Georgia, or will he look like the quarterback that was timid and scared, blowing double-digit leads against Arkansas and Oklahoma? I think Tennessee makes a little bit of sense from a value perspective with the number at 15, but there are much better opportunities on the board. I just don't know if I want to step in front of this Alabama freight train that's headed downhill these days.
Todd Fuhrman is our guest. Step back inside the Big 12 for just a second. This Kansas State-Texas game is interesting. Texas showed a little life beating Oklahoma a couple weeks ago. They're coming off a bye, but it's Bill Snyder. Do you go against Bill Snyder?
I think that right now Kansas State is a team that you have to look to play against. I'm not sure I can make a strong case for playing on them. Now, this number did take off a bit. Texas opened as a 3.5-point favorite, ballooned out to a full touchdown, and that's where there's been a little bit of resistance in the market. Prices settled around 6. You've also seen a major move on the total from 56 at the peak down to 47. Of course, a lot of speculation that Austin will be hampered by major storms. So when you're talking about ball security and teams that won't beat themselves, the weather may actually make a more compelling case for Kansas State. I just think that Texas is going to look at this as a tale of two seasons, use the Oklahoma game as a jumping-off point, and try and resurrect some bowl hopes despite their struggles early in the year.
Can we jump into the NFL?
We can do that.
All right, let's go overseas. Kind of a unique game. Obviously, the Bills going over to London to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Buffalo will be out without several of its starters, including Sammy Watkins, including Percy Harvin, including Tyrod Taylor. How do you see it happening?
I think the dog is the only way to look in this particular contest. Jacksonville's defense has failed to impress me, and a little bit surprising when you consider that is Gus Bradley's trademark and what was expected of him there. The Jaguars' offense a little more firepower than people give them credit for, but clearly last weekend they bogged down quite a bit without T.J. Yeldon to run the ball and catch it out of the backfield. But E.J. Manuel laying over a field goal on a neutral field isn't exactly a long-term money-winning proposition. So by that token alone, if you're looking to try and get involved in the breakfast game, I think you have to back the Jags here catching 4.5.
Kansas City 2.5-point pick over Pittsburgh. How do you see it?
Teams headed to London the following week have been an automatic go against. If you've done that, you're 12-3-1 since 2012. That being said, Landry Jones making his first start at the NFL level on the road at Arrowhead, an awfully delicate proposition. I really don't think Pittsburgh has to play with a sense of urgency, having won the last 2 weeks against the Chargers and the Cardinals, 2 spots that a lot of the professionals and the public didn't think they'd be able to come through with flying colors. Slightly leaning towards Kansas City here under a field goal. I think the Chiefs, despite underachieving, have a little bit better defensive talent capable of confusing the young quarterback.
All right, last thing, and then we'll let you go. We're talking with Todd Fuhrman.
I had another last thing to let him go.
Is it the last thing?
Unless it's the same last thing, you go ahead.
All right, well, we'll see if it is. We threw a ton of games at you right there. Was there one that we didn't name that you like a lot?
That's what I was
I like USC quite a bit. I know we mentioned that. I think you can do a lot worse than backing the Trojans this particular weekend. And I actually think in the SEC, a favorite that's not getting enough credit or respect, they get their top offensive lineman back in Laramie Tunsil at Ole Miss. Kemdichi, questionable for the game. I think we'll see him out there. And I'm always a big fan of fading teams after their first loss, like Texas A&M when their bubble has bursted. Really believe they put so much into trying to beat Alabama. They may not show up and bring their A game. I think Ole Miss gets healthy, and they do so in a hurry, dispatching the Aggies down there in Oxford.
I'm going to ask you a similar question. So you're walking down the strip, right? You got $2 in your pocket. It's your last $2. You need to make that grow. What's the game you bet this weekend?
If I'm looking to try and catch lightning in a bottle, I would take a look in the NFL at the Tennessee Titans on the money line as this number continues to climb. I think odds makers have over-adjusted for the absence of Marcus Mariota, but I know it won't be a popular play. Philadelphia, Carolina, first half, under 23, probably the best number out there. I think both those teams start slow, knowing what's at stake in the Sunday Night Football game.
And Todd, by the way, you can see what a big spender Tony is. He gave you a $2 hypothetical there.
No, what I was doing was it's the guy's last $2. I wanted to see which one was he the most sure of any bet that he would ever make. He had 2 left.
You know what, guys? Had I known that, I would have tried to find a long shot of Mountaineer for us to make a few bucks on betting the horses instead of going to the window with a football ticket.
Well done.
So you're saying the over-under in the Philly game in the first half is the one that's screaming at you this week?
Yeah, I really like the under there. I think these two defenses don't get enough credit. You're not going to see either coach opening up the game plan. And Philadelphia has started real slow, even with Sam Bradford getting more comfortable in the offense. I think both these sides will run the football. That clock will keep churning, and it feels like a 10-7 game tops going into the break.
Yeah, that's the Sunday night game. All right, very good. Hey, Todd, thank you so much. Did you keep a list on these, Coach Hunter? We got them on tape.
Yeah,
we'll come back next week. We'll check your efficiency. I'm sure it'll be absolutely stellar. Todd, thank you so much for your time, buddy.
Thanks for having me, guys. Enjoy the games this weekend.
You bet. Take care. There he is, ladies and gentlemen, Todd Fuhrman, lead gambling analyst at Sportsline.com and the former odds maker at Caesars Palace.
He's excellent, too. And just a little behind the scenes there, we don't tell him ahead of time what games we're going to ask him. That is all off the top of his head. We're just firing games right there.
Why would we ever want to do that? That would mean that we had some kind of preparation. No, we don't do that. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to open up the phone lines when we come back. The number to call, 800-765-8255, 1-800-765-8255. We are through the midpoint of the season. 6 games down, 6 games to go, regular season for the Mountaineers. What's your big plus you like about this team? What's your big minus about this team? What's the big thing that surprised you about this team? We'd love to hear it when we come back. Northside Automotive, statewide sports line.
Have you ever wondered just who are the Friends of Coal? Well, there are 50,000 West Virginia families who support the state's coal industry, and they look a lot like you. Honest, hardworking, good neighbors who want a future for themselves and their state. They're coal miners, housewives, school teachers, mechanics, doctors, college professors, pizza delivery guys, your friends. The Friends of Coal know and understand the importance of the coal industry to our state's economy. They know about the 60,000 jobs the coal industry creates in our state. They know about the $25 billion the industry pumps into our economy. And they know that without coal, our state would face an economic catastrophe. Come to think of it, that sounds like most West Virginians. Let Congress know you are a proud West Virginian, and you are a friend of coal.
Coal is West Virginia.
There are things that make our lives easier.
You know, locking shoelaces, pizza scissors, remote control mops, one-hand bottle cap openers, and the Know Before You Go driving app.
It's free travel information on West Virginia highways, traffic congestion, work zones, road conditions, information that can make your travel easier. Log on to WV511.org or download the WV511 Drive Safe app.
Know Before You Go. It'll make your life easier.
All Medicare eligible individuals. It's time for open enrollment. Take advantage of the health plan's Medicare plans with benefits such as Silver Sneakers gym membership, an extensive list of doctors and hospitals. Contact us 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week at 1-877-847-7915 or visit healthplan.org/Medicare. This information is not a complete description of benefits. Contact the plan for more information. Limitations, copayments, and restrictions may apply. Benefits and/or copayments, coinsurance may change on January 1 of each year.
The Northside Automotive statewide sports line returns in 2 minutes. On Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
To navigate any map, you need a legend. Celebrating the most awarded SUV lineup ever. Jeep Cherokee 2015 4-Wheeler of the Year. Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever. And introducing Jeep Renegade, the most capable small SUV ever. Now get an additional $500 bonus cash at the Jeep Celebration event. Get 0% financing for 72 months or $3,500 total cash allowance on the 2015 Jeep Cherokee Limited.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
Thanks so much for being with us, everyone. 6:36 on a Friday night. A reminder that high school game night begins on many of these same stations tonight at 9:30. Fred Persinger, along with Dave Jecklin and Garrett Cullen. They'll bring you all the high school action from across the state of West Virginia. We encourage you and invite you to join us. Question we had out there tonight is this: through 6 games of the season for the Mountaineers, what have you liked? What have you disliked? What surprised you? What have you liked? What have you disliked? And what has surprised you so far through 6? Number to call is 800-765-8255, 1-800-765-TALK. That is the number to give us a yell. Social media, anything checking in there yet, Senator?
Got a tweet coming in from Chris. Chris says, positives, Wendell Smallwood, Gibson. Negative, defense doesn't seem to be any better than the past. Surprise, the fact that Skylar Howard's the best quarterback on the roster.
You know what's interesting is I think we need to go back. Again, the number is 800-765-8255, 800-765-TALK. Sometimes you got to go back, and we talk about becoming overly optimistic in August when camp starts. And the things that people say, well, this team's going to do this, and this team's going to do this, and this team's going to do this, and they're not going to be able to do this. And you go back and you look at it now and go, well, actually, that's not the case. Not the case. But it happens every year. Hunter, biggest surprise for you to this point?
Positive surprises, I think certainly the deep pass game and the ability of Shelton Gibson and to a lesser extent Javon Durant to become big play guys, because at the beginning of the year we didn't know if anybody would be able to do that. And I think that has been nice. Now, yeah, Skylar's got to become more consistent with what he's done. The pass defense has been a disappointment, but I'll say that when you lose an All-American, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, we were probably over-optimistic about this secondary to begin with a little bit because they didn't have a great pass rush to help them, but then you lose your best player on the team, an All-American player, and to expect it not to take a big hit was probably, well, I mean, that just plainly wasn't realistic. So those are my positives and negatives. What about you?
I think, again, the number, if you'd like to join us, 800-765-8255, 800-765-TALK. Report card time, midseason for the Mountaineers. What's your thumbs up? What's your thumbs down? What's your surprise to this point? I'm surprised that Shelton Gibson has been what he is to this point. I didn't think he would. Not that he couldn't run fast. I didn't think he would become the receiver that he has shown the ability to be to this point. Defensively, thought the corners would play better. Thought the cornerback play would be better. That's my minus. And my let's see here. My biggest surprise to this point about this team. I think realistically, offensively, I kind of thought they'd be what they are. I guess Russell Shell. Russell Shell's my biggest surprise offensively.
You thought he was primed for a big season?
I thought after last year, I thought that he put himself in position from, all accounts. He'd gotten comfortable. I thought what slowed him down last year was the ankle sprain that he suffered against Baylor, and that just kind of took him out. But you could see that there were a lot of things there, and I thought, okay, now he's ready to go. He's probably the biggest surprise, and has not been as productive as I thought that he would be. That's my biggest surprise.
Yeah, fair. Brad?
I'm with you guys on the positive side with Shelton Gibson. I'm with you. That was a giant question mark heading into the season. I thought he has been fantastic. Had Javon Durant in the positive surprise through the first couple games. Would like to see him pop up here as we get into the second half of the season. I think from a disappointment standpoint, I don't know anything different than you guys. That defense, just so much hype around it. And I'll be honest with you, I was being realistic about that. I didn't think this could become necessarily the 96 defense, but wanted to see an improvement, guys, of of a touchdown or so points per game, and there's still a ways to go, and I know the schedule has been tough, but right now that defense is about exactly where it was last year at the end of the year, 74th overall in points per game at about 27. Right now West Virginia sits 70th overall, right at that same 27. So we'll see if that kicks in the second half as the competition gets a little better. The other disappointment, guys, is to be faced with another 3-game losing streak. I know it's a tough schedule. Greg, you've called it the toughest in history, and based on rankings, you're right. I didn't think West Virginia would lose 4, and they may not, but that's what they're staring at after dropping the first 3 in October here.
All right, let's do some phone calls right now and say good evening to Tim in Morgantown. Hi, Tim. It's your turn. Go ahead. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Tony, for taking the call. What I'm looking at this disappointment is the play calling in crucial times when there's a timeout called and or 2 to 3 minutes left and there's something needs to be called. Looks like the coach is controversially questioning himself over what to call, and then we have penalties after a timeout. And I'll leave that to you to discuss because you see it more than I do, and thank you very much.
All right. Thanks very much.
I don't remember like a delay coming out of a timeout for West Virginia this year. Maybe he's got one that I can't think of, but that's exasperating, certainly, when that happens. But I don't remember one this season.
As far as play calls go, red zone efficiency is not what it needs to be.
No, it hasn't.
Red zone efficiency, and then it is interesting, Greg. We spent some time on this on the Sunday show last week. Tony, it just seems as if the intermediate passing game doesn't exist right now. It seems to be success running the football or attempts at throwing the ball deep, and anything underneath a Jordan Thompson, a Da'Keel Shorts, any kind of passing game that's intermediate that would move the sticks doesn't seem to be existing right now.
And he's talked a good bit about that. He knows. I mean, that's the bread and butter of this offense. They know that. They tried to work on that going into the Baylor game. It got a little bit better, but you're exactly right. The lack of the intermediate passing game in this offense is a huge, huge problem. You've got to be able to complete intermediate passes, whether they be shallow crosses, whether they be hitches, curls, whatever it might be. That keeps this alive, and you're exactly right. It hasn't happened to the level that they need it to. Dave in Huntington, you're up. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, I enjoy your broadcast, but I see no variety in the running game. And I agree with the poor play calling, too many Hail Marys, and the absence of a running back. And there's no speed. Russell Shell is a fullback that tries to run like a halfback. And I see defensive breakdowns, just like last year and the year before. All right, gentlemen, have a good evening. Enjoy your comment.
Thank you, sir. We do appreciate it. I do think that a couple of things here. Russell Shell, I should say Wendell Smallwood, has been slowed by an ankle, so he's even actually quicker than he has shown. And I think what we were saying earlier about Shell, to this point, he has not been the guy that they thought that he would be.
Yeah, but despite that, I mean, again, I'm not certain where Dave's going, but this is statistically the best running attack that West Virginia has had since Pat White left campus. So, I mean, they're third in the Big 12, close to 200 yards per game. So, yeah, I mean, the running game, while certainly still can do better if you could get Shell in gear, with a Wendell Smallwood, has been better than it has been in the Dana Holgorsen years or even in the Bill Stewart years. And Wendell Smallwood's a fast running back. I mean, so again, speed in the backfield, it's not Shell. But you look at Smallwood and what he's been able to achieve on a bad ankle the last 3 games. I think he's been lights out.
In league play, 3 games in the league, West Virginia right now is 5th. Mountaineers are averaging 4 yards per carry. They're averaging 211 yards per game on the ground in the Big 12, 3 games that they've played. Thanks for that call. Let's head to Sissonville. Mike, thanks for taking time to call. Go ahead.
Yeah. I know about recruiting and so forth. Gibby has got his hands kind of tied because the 2 coordinators before him, he's dealing with their recruits. When he gets his people in there to his defense, I think it'll help a lot, and we'll see a big difference like we did later on in the 07 08, period. Thank you.
Thanks for the call. I don't know.
You guys,
I don't know.
defense,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know on that one. I tell you why, Mike. I don't know because going into the season, that wasn't a concern for him. He thought he had what he had. Thought he had about 16 guys really on defense. Thought he had 11 guys, absolutely, and then he had about another 5 guys that could be quality backup guys. They thought they had what that they needed. Obviously, you take Carl Joseph out of the mix, that certainly hurts. Jared Barber got slowed a little bit. He sat out the game with the shoulder, so that's just going to happen in the nature of things. I don't know. If you were to ask Gibby, say, hey, Gibby, personnel-wise, did you have what you needed? But I'll also say this. You know when you're going to be really good? Do you want to know when you're going to be really good? When you have NFL players all over the field. Now, hey, great. Hey, boy, that's quite a statement there, Tony. Boy, I tell you what, you really went. And I'll tell you why I say that. You know, just kind of hit home for me this week. Someone on Twitter put out the 1988 West Virginia game against Virginia Tech. So on YouTube, the whole game's out there. So I just started watching it, and it's been a while, obviously. Started watching the number of pros that were running around on that field, and you say to yourself, well, you want to be really, really good? You got to have pros, right? I'm watching that offense. I'm watching that defense. Whoa, there's Elvoid Mays, played in the pros. There's Bo Orlando, right? Played in the pros, right? Ronaldo, played in the pros, long time. You start seeing all these guys.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Darryl Whitmore, Major League Baseball player. I mean, great athlete, broke his leg, so that kind of deterred his football. But, I mean, tons of guys out there. Craig Taylor on offense. A.B. Brown on offense. Just keep naming. Major. Reggie. That's when you're going to be. You want to win the league? You want to win the league? You got to have pros. You got to have a handful of pros.
Well, you talk about that in basketball too, and it's the same thing. And it's but you know that's true. I mean, because your NFL guys are your best players, right? And if you get enough good ones, odds are you're going to be pretty good. And this defense right now, without Carl Joseph on the field, there's nobody who's a slam dunk NFL guy. I mean, I thought at the beginning of the year Daryl Worley would be a guy, but he certainly hadn't played like that now.
Yeah.
Nick Kwiatkowski, I think, is a really good player.
He's an NFL guy.
Yeah, but that's it.
He's an NFL guy. Nick Kwiatkowski is an NFL guy.
Mm-hmm. But nobody else, right? I mean,
not off the top of my head. Not off the top of my head.
Haven't played like that.
Matthew in Martinsburg. Hi, Matthew.
My question for you, Tony, is you travel with the team. Where's the team actually at right now, emotionally and physically? And do you think this bye week comes at a good time for the team to get their head straight, back on straight?
All right. Thanks for the call, Matthew. So where's the team at mentally? Where's it physically? And is this a good weekend for an off weekend? It probably is a good weekend physically for an off weekend. I think it would also be a good weekend to play if you were playing Iowa State or Kansas, to be honest with you. If I could play this week against Iowa State or Kansas, I think that would be good for this team to get their legs back underneath them, get a game, get a win, and then go out there and keep on playing. I think, emotionally, I think they're fine right now. I mean, if you just stop and realize what you've just been asked to do, the Oklahoma State game, I think, is going to stay with this team for a long time. You'll always look back at that one. Years from now, you're going to that was a game you had to win.
Yeah.
So, but again, they're not going to change the score. So, you knew what you were going up against in Baylor, and you got the full brunt of that. And now you've got another wonderful opportunity coming up here on Thursday night against a TCU team that, may not at this point on paper look as dominating as Baylor is, a team that you've played well against in each of the 3 previous encounters. So you just got an outstanding opportunity.
This team's vulnerable, this TCU team. It feels like they're going to give at least one back. Now, their offense is outstanding, and if it's clicking, you're in some real trouble because I'm not sure. I'll say the same thing I said about Baylor. I'm not sure West Virginia can go toe-to-toe in a shootout and win a game in the 60s against this TCU team, so you're going to have to get some stops. But this TCU team feels like they're due for a trip-up. Now, that may be extra tough at their place, but this is a game. These next 2 games, guys, I think are pretty critical. in TCU, I'm not saying must win by any stretch against TCU, but that's an important game. And then if you do drop that and you've lost 4 in a row, I think that Texas Tech game becomes absolutely enormous. That someone on this team, leadership-wise, has to step up and stop the bleeding at that point.
A reminder, if you're looking for something to do this weekend or in the next month, well, check out go2wv.com. You can experience Fright Nights at Glade Springs. They're going on right now. You can sign up for Ace's Zombie Run, which takes place on Halloween, October the 31st. Lots of scary events going on in the month of West Virginia, in the month of October in the state of West Virginia. Check them out, go2wv.com. That is go2wv.com. And check it out. We invite you to stay tuned. More coming up after this. Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline.
Fire is swift and deadly. Early warning is critical. Smoke alarms are an essential early warning tool to protect yourself, your loved ones, your home, and possessions if a fire was to break out. If you don't have smoke alarms in your home, go and get them now. If you do have them, go and test them to make sure they're working. Not having working smoke alarms in your home is just plain deadly. This is West Virginia State Fire Marshal Ken Tyree. Home fire safety, it's in your hands.
Good-paying jobs with great benefits are available now. As a correctional officer with the West Virginia Division of Corrections, you'll also have educational opportunities for a degree in criminal justice at reduced prices. High school diploma or GED and drug screening required. Take advantage of an accelerated hiring and training process that other state agencies don't offer. National Guard members get partial credit in the Training Academy. Visit WVDOC.com.
Hi, it's Tony Caridi. If you're in a business or organization that needs visual help, then let's get together and talk. For more than a decade now, those of us at Pikewood Creative have embraced the opportunity to help people just like you tell their story visually. Whether it's a video, commercial, animation, or motion graphics piece, we produce content that make others take notice. We help people increase their business and organizations better tell their story. If you need help, then contact us at pikewoodcreative.com.
All Medicare eligible individuals. It's time for open enrollment. Take advantage of the health plan's Medicare plans with benefits such as Silver Sneakers gym membership, an extensive list of doctors and hospitals. Contact us 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week at 1-877-847-7915 or visit healthplan.org/Medicare. This information is not a complete description of benefits. Contact the plan for more information. Limitations, copayments, and restrictions may apply. Benefits and/or copayments, coinsurance may change on January 1 of each year.
The Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes. On Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
To navigate any map, you need a legend. Celebrating the most awarded SUV lineup ever. Jeep Cherokee 2015 Four-Wheeler of the Year. Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever. And introducing Jeep Renegade, the most capable small SUV ever. Now get an additional $500 bonus cash at the Jeep Celebration event. Get 0% financing for 72 months or $3,500 total cash allowance on the 2015 Jeep Cherokee Limited.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
A reminder, tomorrow night, if you're in the area of here in Morgantown, we've got the Gold and Blue debut. The Mountaineer basketball team makes its first public appearance, and that goes at 7 o'clock. Gates open at 6. It's free. 30-minute scrimmage, autographs, raise the Sweet 16 banner, turn around, jump down, pick a Ellicott, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't know what they're just going to do. They're just going to do a bunch of stuff.
Hey, don't know if you heard this, Tony. Big, giant, huge news coming around the basketball program.
Oh, yeah.
Red Panda, the popular halftime unicyclist juggler.
Came out of retirement.
Yeah, back. She will be back.
Yeah.
It's the Oklahoma game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Big news.
Yeah, she was out last year out of the circuit. Rick Pitino will not be attending ACC Media Day.
Oh, really? Something happened? He's sick, not feeling well? What happened? Why isn't he not going to ACC?
Although he is combating and battling a mild case of pneumonia, that's actually not it. According to reports, legal counsel has advised him not to attend ACC Media Day because of the ongoing investigation into his program. So Rick Pitino will not be there.
Shock. The other guy at the center of this investigation, Andre McGee, resigned today from his position at Missouri, Kansas City.
That's right. He came out in his statement and said, "Hey, with these untrue accusations against me, it's not fair. This team needs a full-time assistant coach, so I will resign from my position." Took one for the team. I'll tell you what, there's some beautiful lying going on here, isn't it? I mean, how do these guys go to bed? Seriously, how do they go to bed? Nah, Andre, you didn't have anything going on. I mean, you didn't have anything going on. They only got pictures. They only have texts. They only have, you're good. I don't think you had any problem whatsoever. And Slick Rick, no, Rick, you're fine. You just keep going, buddy.
Yeah, he declared he was done talking about recruiting accusations too, which I don't know that he gets to declare that. They're going to be talking about it.
He's going to play. This is the ultimate game of chicken right now.
Yep.
In all of his career, he's been able to intimidate people and beat them down because of who he is, right? He got that whole mojo going. Guess what? Game over. You're done. You're walking dead, man. Death of a salesman. You're out. Willie Loman, you're gone. We're out. Have yourself a good weekend. Take care. We'll see you.